Oh, no, well, it's nothing to it. You know, anybody can do it.
I think that's changed here at Daytona. They may be the truth at Talladega right now, as smooth as it is, but not here.
Yeah.
Boris Said from Carlsbad, California. Pole winner here in July of 2006, where he went on to finish 4th. Driving for a company out of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, Window World. The Window World Cares Foundation raises money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, and the head of that company, Todd Whitworth, very unexpectedly passed away this Friday while the team was down here preparing to run the race. This team and also John Andretti shares the same sponsorship from a company that's been very active in this sport.
I think it looked like Boris got a haircut to me.
He's got that super speedway cut right now.
He said he had a new product. I got to get down in front of what he's got there because it looked a lot better. The said head didn't look quite as big as it has in the past.
It was wound tight. Yeah.
Bill Jenkins, a businessman from West Wardsboro, Vermont, purchased this race team and the number 26 car number, owner points, and equipment from Roush Racing. Jenkins owns Latitude 43. So that's his name of his company. That'll be the name of the race team that Boris is driving for.
And since they're locked into the first 5 races because of that owner point situation, they do plan on running those 5 races. The remaining schedule will depend on sponsorship.
Yeah, it seems odd for Boris to be qualifying right now.
Yeah.
You have to wait for him to be one of the last ones to go out and wonder if he's going to make it or not.
Well, that's what he said yesterday. It was such a change to come down here and not have to worry about racing his way into the show because Said, like all the rest of the drivers who have top 35 owner points from 2009, knows that he'll be racing in the Daytona 500.
And that first lap is not a very good first lap for him. 48.55 with another one of these Fords. And right now the fastest Ford out of our 17 cars is Casey Kane, who's 11th. So the Fords right now not flexing their muscle as far as speed on qualifying day.
Second lap for Said. A champion level road racer.
Our side, and hopefully we can.
He's got a wonderful car to do it. This automobile is brand new, and this car has the best fit and finish of any of them. The craftsmanship is truly remarkable.
Don't overlook Elliott because he could become the first 5-time pole winner in 500 history. Right now he's tied with Buddy Baker and Cale Yarborough. They have 4 apiece. As you see the battery change going on in Matt Kenseth's car. Kenseth will be the last of the top 35 drivers who are locked into the show to make their qualifying run. So it's go or go home time, and we start with front row Joe Nemechek from Lakeland, Florida, one of the few owner drivers remaining in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition.
And what we're going to see in these 19 cars, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Mike, when it's all over with, 3 of them are going to be really happy because they'll be the fastest 3. We know they'll be in the Daytona 500. But for all of them, a lot like even our top 35 guys, with the exception of who sits on the front row, this determines their starting position in those Gatorade dual races on Thursday.
And it just seems like some of these guys always pull. They always find something. They'll gamble. They'll gamble on setup. They'll gamble on the engine. They'll gamble on whatever, try to get the most speed they can.
Joe attempted but missed the Daytona 500 last year.
Well, this is looking like a pretty sporty lap for Joe Nemechek. He's flirting right outside the top 10 halfway down the back straightaway. Just real quick, going back to that 17 car, I think we need to explain. We've talked about them changing the battery. They don't have the hood up. It's because the battery on these race cars is located right in front of the left rear tire. So you jack the car up, take the left rear tire off. That's where the battery's located.
Nemechek trying to time his way into the Daytona 500. And for an unsponsored team, run out of his own green flag, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox.
It's going to be the Budweiser, what the heck happened shootout.
it could well be.
What the heck just happened?
Limited practice time due to rain, both for the shootout and for the 500. We shall see. You earlier heard from Tommy Baldwin. Here's his driver, Mike Bliss, a past champion of the Camping World Truck Series. He has 95 starts in the Sprint Cup Series. He's run in 2 Daytona 500s.
This team raced their way in last year with Scott Riggs driving in the very first race out of 2009.
And Tommy was sort of the poster boy for, guys, crew chiefs starting their own teams last year, going out and hiring a lot of people that had lost their jobs and putting together a program with limited resources. He's done a very good job of hanging in there all year long, and here he is back again this year with things looking a little bit better for him.
But as Darrell has always said, we always know no matter what the rules, the cream is still going to rise to the top. You're still going to have to beat Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing in that group. But I think things that NASCAR's done, like this new car, like the no testing policy, that has helped allow people like Tommy Baldwin to come in and at least be able to compete and qualify for these cup races.
Well, this is a different operation than it was a year ago. They have a bigger shop, leased from Casey Kane. Baldwin's taken on a business partner, Al Henke, a very familiar car owner on the dirt modified circuit, and hired some new people and has a full-time and a second car to run. So it's a whole different operation than the wing and a prayer that we saw Baldwin with here last year.
Well, and I think Tommy said it in his interview. Tommy has finally realized that if I'm going to run this race team, manage it, try to do the business side, I've got to have a crew chief. And I know that had to be hard for Tommy to do because Tommy's a hands-on type of a guy.
But he's doing exactly what he always wanted to do. Ever since I've known Tommy, he wanted to have his own team. He wanted to do his own thing. And so I'm glad he's able to keep it all together and
have a little bit more than the rest of them. So all these guys done a really good job to get this thing to run this fast. We had a little bit of a mess trying to get going for our lap. Once we got going, it ran pretty good.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
By a tenth of a second, Kenseth is the fastest Ford in Daytona so far. Aric Almirola from Tampa, Florida is the new driver for James Finch for 2010. And Finch learned Thursday that his longtime sponsorship, the plug there had been pulled, and that's why this car is red with blank quarter panels here in Daytona. He was not the only victim. His former sponsor had vehicles both in Sprint Cup, Nationwide, and in the Camping World Truck Series, and suddenly they have a change at the top management, and as we've seen oftentimes before, boom, they're out of racing.
Definitely a big hit for Phoenix Racing and James Finch because they fully sponsored their Nationwide Series car.
well, it's even a bigger hit because it's February. You find out in November or, at the end of last year, you got to go sponsor searching. That's one thing. But when it happens just before you load the car.
Now keep in mind, this is the team that won the spring race at Talladega with Brad Keselowski driving in that wild finish with Carl Edwards.
They got her walking sideways a little bit.
Almirola made 8 Cup starts last year, including one for Phoenix Racing.
But everything Aric has always done has kind of been on a part-time basis. He's been in Sprint Cup for 3 seasons, but he's never started more than 12 races in 1 year. Remember, he shared the ride with Mark Martin a couple of years ago over at DEI.
Yeah, he went to DEI with what he thought was the promise of a full season ride, but there again, sponsorship didn't materialize, and he was on the sidelines very early. 48-41 on the first lap for Almirola. And once again, of these go or go home drivers, the 3 fastest know they'll be in the Daytona 500, and the rest are going to have to race their way in the Gatorade Duel.
And I think that's going to include Aric Almirola.
A 2-time Daytona 500 champion, hoping to make his 28th start in this great American race. 4th overall, Bill. Is that what you expected?
Well, it's good, really good. I mean, for us, it's an excellent time. I mean, depending on when you go out, I think makes some difference, but it's hard to tell. We were hoping we could get just a little bit more speed out of it, but I'm telling you, when you're where you're at in points, everything, if we can just beat everybody else from the go-homer side, we're in good shape, and that's all we need to do.
Looks good.
Thanks, guys.
Well, not only is Elliott in the 500, but that is one of the 2 potential past champions that could have used that provisional spot. Might open up a position for a Dave Blaney, perhaps. The former Outlaw Sprint Car champion from Hartford, Ohio, is trying to make his 10th Daytona 500. Terry Labonte drove this car last year at Daytona, finishing 24th, and then Blaney ran it for Prism Motorsports the rest of the season.
Based on what we've seen so far, if you even think you going to get a chance to get to be one of those fastest three, you're going to have to run into 47s on that first lap to even think about getting there.
Yeah, it was some pretty good. Those are good times for Nemechek speed and certainly for Bill. So yeah, you're going to have pretty fast hot rod to get up there and do that.
Now the other past champion is Bobby Labonte, and he comes up in a couple of cars here. 11 cars to go in pole qualifying for the Daytona 500. Right now, Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are quickest, as Blaney's 48.32 is going to put him pretty much at the back of the field. Leading up to the Great American Race next Sunday, the Daytona 500, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. They're on Fox. The last 8 years of the Daytona 500 have produced 8 different winners.
Did you happen to see Blindside, the movie? Tim was in that movie with Sandra Bullock.
Great movie.
Unbelievable. Did an awesome job.
Yeah, we've done 9 Daytona 500s, or that's been a part of our 9 years, and the only repeat winner in those 9 years has been Michael Waltrip, that did it in 2001 and 2003.
You heard from Casey Mears a little bit ago. Keyed Up Motorsports is the name of Raymond Key's team. And it's a good thing they're from Virginia, because I can't help but see a number 90 car on the track and think of the Virginia gentleman, Junie Donlevy, who owned the number 90 car for decades in the Sprint Cup Series. Drivers like Dick Brooks, Ken Schrader, Dorsey Schrader, no relation, ran down here for him in the 500. Ricky Rudd drove for him. I mean, the unbelievable list of drivers who wheeled a car here for Junie Donlevy.
Truxmore. Always had the Truxmore sponsorship on the side of the car. And yeah, great car owner.
He got that one win at Dover, Delaware in 1981 with Jody Ridley driving for him.
Casey Mears finished second here in 2006. Started 9th in 2008, his only top 10 start in the 500. And it looks like they're searching for speed here.
Yeah, they have the Earnhardt Childers engine package in this 90 car. And his first lap, 48.16. As I mentioned, I think you're going to have to run in those 47s on lap 1 if you even want to think about getting up there.
Right now, Joe Nemechek at 47.44 is the lock-in point. Nemechek is 16th. So if Mears wants to lock himself into the 500, he's got to get past that line right there. Now, he can still race his way in on Thursday. All of these drivers can. But to be assured of a spot in the race, you've got to be one of these 3 fastest right here.
You know, you look at Casey's year last year in 2009 with the 07 car, certainly not the season they were looking for, but one thing that he did accomplish, he was running at the end of every race last year, no DNFs.
Out of the 44 drivers so far.
Plus, it looks dangerous to me. I mean, I've dropped left wheels down on that line before through the tri-oval, and it get your attention.
Well, the apron is essentially flat, and that tri-oval's bank, 17 degrees?
Yeah.
That's quite a difference.
And I think the most deceiving thing is how much of a turn that really is.
And how fast you're going.
Hey, Daryl.
Yeah, brother.
You remember 1981?
I do, but man, that was for the win, buddy.
Wait a minute. Whoa, time out. You passed Benny Parsons in that same area. You say you shouldn't go down there to win the race.
He was younger then, though, Jeff.
But that's my whole point. There's a lot of these guys that are younger now that don't bother them.
And you know what I told Benny, and it came true later on, 25 years later. I said there were no out-of-bounds stakes anywhere that I went.
Right. But you went down on the apron, big boy. Don't forget it.
Well, he ran me down there.
Yeah, that's your story, and I'm sticking to it, right?
Bobby Labonte changed teams toward the end of last season, joining TRG, the Racers Group, Kevin Buckler's team. And the past champion is the most recent between he and Bill Elliott, so he would have that provisional to fall back on if it is needed. He made 7 starts for this team toward the end of last year.
He's got a couple of poles here for the one for the Daytona 500 1998, 2 poles total.
He won the pole for Joe Gibbs Racing and finished second that year, 1998.
But Mike, you kind of touched on this. If when this is all said and done, the smoke is cleared, if Bill Elliott and Bobby Labonte both are in that fastest 3 group of the go-or-go homers, that will pull someone else in the 4th quickest speed.
Right, a total of 8 cars from the Go or Go Homers will start the 500.
Bobby's first lap, pretty good first lap. We've been talking about what we felt like you needed to do, and that's a 47.82.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's quicker than Nemechek's first lap, so this could put Bobby Labonte in that top 3.
He could jump right on over there. He's looking pretty racy down the back.
So right now, Bill Elliott, Scott Speed, and Joe Nemechek are the 3 quickest of the Go or Go Homers.
Just a little confused myself about the tracker, because with the tailwind and everything else on your fast lap, your speed should not be going backwards going down the back straightaway. It may when you get to the turn, but I'm not sure why you want to go backwards on the straightaway.
But he lost a lot of ground at the end of the
An extraordinary amount of effort is put into qualifying for the Daytona 500. When the cars have finished their qualifying run, they come here into the garage. You're looking at Jamie McMurray's car. They have just changed the complete rear end housing in this car. The brakes have been changed. The front hubs have been changed. Steering box has been changed. As you can see, mechanics are pouring all over this thing. Other than the seat, the engine, and the body, just about everything that was on this car when Jamie did his time trial is gone, and the stuff that they need to be racing side by side, 2 and 3 wide, is going on the car now.
And for the people that question at the other 3 restrictor plate races why they are impound, that's why right there, because everything they're pulling off and changing out is an expense to the owner.
Yeah, and it's just for 2 laps. I mean, that's why I like the impound procedure, because you work yourself to death, spend a lot of money just to run 2 laps, and then come in and the crew says, what happened?
Mike Wallace is the middle of the 3 racing brothers from St. Louis. He's trying to make his 11th Daytona 500. Rusty, the oldest brother, Kenny, the youngest, and Mike's daughter, Chrissy, is going to race here next weekend at Daytona in the nationwide race.
And the owner of this car is Brian Keselowski, which is Brad Keselowski's brother. And if that car looks like Budweiser Red, it's the same car that Casey Kane won at Charlotte with in May of 2008, which is another thing that this new car has done. It will let a team take a car that's been run at a downforce track and bring it to Daytona.
49.84 on the first lap, though, 180 miles an hour.
It will let you do that. I'm just not sure if
how competitive it'll be.
Not sure it's a good idea, but.
And the one thing they were concerned with, Daryl, is you work hard. We've heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. and a lot of guys talk about their cars bottoming out. The one thing that this group feared with this car, because of it being that type of a car, is bottoming the tailpipes. And the one run they got in this morning, they indeed encountered that to a large degree.
49.26. Mike Wallace does pick up 6.
Spot up for the 4th quickest speed. So there's a lot of people that will be pulling for Bobby Labonte in those Gatorade Dual races on
all those
Thursday.
other drivers and car owners
that's trying to get in on the speed.
And he could too. He's 18th quick, and the car, is pretty fast. So certainly a good chance he could do that.
Kirk Shelmerdine, native of Philadelphia, came south and gained fame in NASCAR as Dale Earnhardt's championship-winning crew chief. He has 1 start in the Daytona 500, 2006. Had the biggest payday of his career when he wound up in the top 20.
That was when he had a fast car, and wasn't that the year when everybody was trying to get him to sell the ride or buy his spot?
Yes.
And he said, no, sir, I've been working my whole life for this opportunity, and I'm not selling it out now.
That's right. He was offered way more than the purse.
Oh, yeah.
The amount that the car would win if he would drop out and let another driver drive his car. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And bring their sponsor along.
I was going to say, if you get into 500 with blank quarter panels, those blank quarter panels become very valuable.
They're gold.
Last year he didn't make the race. He time trialed 45th and was the 6th finishing Go or Go Home driver in his dual race. That Daytona 500 run in 2006 was his last Cup start.
But Darrell, going back on what I said a while ago, I guess I should have phrased that differently about what this new car has accomplished. Before this car, you wouldn't even consider going and purchasing a car that was run somewhere else to come here. The good thing is it will let you race in the Gatorade Dual Race on Thursday. So, there is some value that this car has brought in that capacity.
Yeah, if everybody was doing that, if everybody was on that program, it'd be fine. But when one guy builds a car just for Daytona, then everybody else got to build a car for Daytona, and so on and so on and so on. I mean, week in and week out, all year long, all you hear from one driver to the next, well, we got a brand new car. Well, we got a brand new car. These cars have evolved so much from those 2008 cars.
Come a long way.
And Mark Martin and Earnhardt up front.
But you and I were both doing a quick count right there. How many guys we got as far as the top 6 that have won the 500 before?
Yeah, right. Four former Daytona 500 winners, as you take a look at the way the pole qualifying stands at the moment. And Juan Pablo Montoya, some people say a fluke last year. At least the early indication, he's here to play.
These guys are a real deal. I mean, they really are. A lot of people are going to be watching them very closely as far as what's going to happen to them here in 2010. But I think Juan is just going to get better with age. He'll be strong this year just like he was last year.
And David Gilliland, part of BAM Racing and a Toyota. 2 Daytona 500s for him. His best finish 8th. And in fact, in 2007, he was the pole sitter.
Yeah, driving for Robert Yates at that time right there. Set one up on the front row, which back at that time, Robert Yates and Yates Racing were very strong when it comes to restrictor plate racing. But it'll be interesting to see. I say on a new team, but it's been a year since we've seen these guys here on the circuit running Toyotas this year, aligned with Robbie Gordon and his organization. And Robbie's currently 32nd, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not David can get some speed out of his number 49 car with Larry the Cable Guy.
He's a funny guy and a big NASCAR fan.
He loves NASCAR and PBR.
I remember somebody saying, well, Larry, that's not his real name. And I said, well, he's not really a cable guy either, but he's funny. He's entertaining.
Well, I'm just wondering, is Larry real name?
Larry, our crew chief announcer
Lawrence.
guy.
His name is Lawrence, I believe.
And our Larry likes to use Get Her Done, which I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, I wonder who stole that. Did he steal it from Larry the Cable Guy, or did Larry the Cable Guy steal it from Larry?
I heard Larry McReynolds say it first 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I don't care who you are, that's fast. And we changed it. Larry changed it to that's funny. I don't care who you are, that's funny. And it's a sexual.
Well, I'll tell you what's not funny right now. The 49 car needs to find some speed.
Yates Racing used to, when Fords, they used to qualify a lot better here when it was the Yates engines in Fords.
Well, I mean, things have changed and evolved over the years. I think it has a lot to do with the new car. They used to do a lot of work with their bodies and things, and were very good on the restrictor plates. I think Larry used to be really good at, when he worked for him, about cutting on bodies and making them, working in the gray area.
Helping out. Well, if Larry the Cable Guy can help David Gilliland, we'll get you his finishing moment here, or at least where he's qualifying.
Right now he's jumped up to 41st quickest.
On Thursday in the Gatorade Duel. The youngest driver in this year's Daytona 500 will be Joey Logano at age 19. And our final qualifier is the man who is trying to be the oldest starter in this year's 500. 58-year-old Norm Benning from Level Green, Pennsylvania. He has tried and tried, but this would be his first Daytona 500.
And Norm competes in the ARCA series on a pretty regular basis. Of course, the ARCA race coming up here on speed at about 4:30 Eastern Time. Danica Patrick making her first stock car start. In fact, Norm a year ago had a good top 10 finish in that ARCA race.
Yeah, he did.
And last year he ran the Camping World Truck Series, finishing 21st in points over there. So Benning in a Chevrolet, once again the top 3 go or go homers that would lock into the 500 on qualifying day would be Bill Elliott, Scott Speed, and Joe Nemechek. 47:44 is the time to beat.
I guess Norm just decided he's going to, before he gets too old, he decided he would focus on his Cup career.
And again, he's going to get to race in those Gatorade Dual races on Thursday. He will get to race here regardless of how fast he runs or slow he runs in this qualifying session.
Right.
Back to those top 3, Mike, we talked about it and touched on it. The 4th quickest is Bobby Labonte in that 71 car. So if he can race his way in to the 500 through the dual races, then the car that's going to be watching that closely would be Michael Waltrip, the 51 car, who's right behind Bobby in speed.
So for these go or go home drivers, 3 ways to make the race. be one of the 3 fastest today, be one of the top 2 finishers in each of the 2 Gatorade dual races, and you're in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got to be a past champion and take the provisional, and there's only 2 fellows eligible.
And Michael's over there telling Bobby, right, don't park that car now. You got there and go.
50-18 for Benning. And the tracker stops at 43 because that's how many starting positions are available in a Sprint Cup race, but looks like Norm Benning will be the slowest of the 54 cars entered.
And there's just so many elements involved in those Gatorade dual races on Thursday. You know, they're 150 miles. You will have to make at least 1 pit stop. We know that for fuel, but trust me, the way the handling are going away on these cars, every time that yellow flag waves, you'll be on pit road for 4 more tires.
But there's no saying Norm Benning can't be this year's Phil Barkdahl. There was a year that Barkdahl came down here with a car that was not competitive, stayed back out of the lead draft.